How you going, guys? Welcome back to NZ Mopa. I suppose we could say it at least once, every now and again. So this will be video 118, I think it is, Studebaker. I've got a little bit to do on this front fender, and then I'm going to start on the back ones. I really appreciate all the new subs that are slowly coming along. Still trying to get to that 1,000. So if you are watching, please hit the subscribe button and the thumbs up and lots of stuff. Remember to do that every video. As soon as you come in, just hit that thumbs up. At least I get that. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe, because it doesn't cost you anything, and it just helps get me to that 1,000. So hopefully that eventually, I can help put anything that comes from YouTube back into what I'm doing, and making better content for you guys over time. What else was I going to say? Oh, I said in the last video, which I just put up this morning, that I was going to talk to the owner and see if we can find some pictures or something of the Studebaker when they first got it, or earlier on. I'm not sure if there is any. He's going to have a bit of a. I think they're going to have a bit of a nosy. He doesn't think he took any, but he's not 100% sure on that. So if I find some, if we happen to come across some in the next week or two, I'll post them up in a video. But it doesn't sound like there was any, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame. It's always quite cool to see. Like I've got lots of footage and pictures from when I started, but nothing pre that I know of. So there might be something, but it'd be been quite cool to just to see the state that it was in prior to me working on it, if you know what I mean. But anyway, I'll get on with this. I'm just going to mix up another little batch of body filler and put in a lot of places where it just needs a little bit. It doesn't need a lot. I'm not going to go heavy and have a full skin coat. I'll skin a little bit where it needs it, if you know what I mean. There's quite a lot of little spots, so I'll probably skin coat parts of it, but not too panic too much. I'll blend it down a little bit without trying to put too much on the effect. Maybe blend this background here a little bit, do a tight thing, and a bit down the bottom, and a bit down the other side and stuff. So I'll get into it. I'll just come back to you when I've got it done, and probably block back, and then we'll get on to one of these rear fenders, and I'll sort of try and show you some of the areas that really desperately need work on, because this one here is one of the ones I did a lot of heat shrinking on because it was very overstretched, and these lines here, the groove that's in line on the outside of the panel, in one spot, I think about this far, it was almost flat, like the line was still there, but it was almost nothing if it had been overstretched. So I just shrink it back in. I had to keep shrinking. I spent about almost a day trying to get it to shrink in. And I think I might even done a little bit the next day, just trying to get that to pull back in and get the shape back into it, where it matched the profile and the profile gauge, if you know what I mean, before and after it. Because it was crazy. If I might dig through a little bit of the footage and I'll poke it in, if I can find the clip that I want. But anyway, we'll get some mud mixed up and we'll get the spread on this, and I'll knock it off and then I'll come back to you. Righty, so while I'm waiting the body filler to go off on here, I've already done it, but I'll show you on that one when I do that one. On this other guard, I was talking about the seam line where the inner part of the fender meets the outer piece that goes up higher over the tyre itself. Just turn the camera on. So, down in here, so what I did was I had an old screwdriver that I had ground a point on, so I just made it really, really thin. And I just scraped it in here, like that, just around the edge, all the way around. I did it quite a few times and just tried to pick that line out a bit. Now, if it's not 100% dead perfect, it's not going to really matter. By the time I blow a few coats of high build on there, and I probably lightly scrape out again and probably till maybe the last one, if you know what I mean, just to try and keep that line there. So at least when it's painted, you better see that there is a line in there, you know, just to try and help keep that definition. So yeah, that's all it did. It was just an old screwdriver that I had already ground a point on at some point. I don't know what it was originally. Number 2 or something. Just one of the many old crappy screwdrivers that was in here. So yeah, I just ground it down a bit on the little disc on there and just used it to clean out that sort of that groove, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I'm just about ready to sand this down, and I've just been checking over the first rear mudguard or fender. I just noticed there was a bit much weld in here still, so I just ground that down a little bit. And this is the one I think I did a shitload of shrinking on. So you can see how I got the shape right, because this here was bloody near flat originally. I'll try and see if I can find the footage of me banging it down and just pop a little bit in the video when I edit it. But yeah, this, I had to like shrink the crap out of this to get it to come back down to even get close to this shape, if you know what I mean. It was completely lost. Like it was, you know, it was bloody near flat through here instead of, you know, down in there like that. So I know when I let me see. When I originally sort of looked at it and went, you know, and pushed this in here sort of type thing, I'm just trying to be rough, but you know what I mean, like when I went down there, it would like sit way up here like this originally, you know, and we've got it back down, so it's roughly the same shape. You know, it's not 100% perfect, but it's good enough. But at least I can put body filler in there and, you know, it's going to be fine. It is what it is, you know, but it took it must have taken a hell of a beating in there at some point. So yeah, it took a lot to straighten out. So again, that's why you need body filler, you know. Like I could, you know, if I had a planishing hammer or whatever, you know, you could probably get it neater and tidier, but you know, at what point do you stop trying to make the metal perfect and, you know, and use body filler or high build or spray putty? You know, it's the same principle as the other one, you know. You either get it really close, so it's within a reasonable shape, and you're not going stupid amounts of body filler, you know, like half an inch thick and trying to carve it in. Like I've seen, you know, like I've worked on front fenders, like off 60s and 70s cars where it's had a massive dent in there, you just about put your fist in, and they just filled it up, you know, and it was like this thick, you know, when I come in behind it, ground it all out, shaped up a piece of like 4x2 timber or whatever, driven it in there to push it out, and then I could get in, you know, and hammer and dolly it out and whatever, and try and at least get it to where it was back to a reasonable sort of shape there like that, you know, and then, you know, a 1/16 or a, you know, an 1/8 of an inch of body filler in the worst of the little imperfections, you know, and you're done, you know. So, you know, where do you stop, where do you start, you know. You know, I could have packed all the headlight bucket out of that fender that I did. You know, I've probably got footage of that somewhere too, from the old VC Valiant that I did. Even actually the 66 Dodge Phoenix was like that too, you know, like on both the guards, and that were beaten to snot. I fortunately had a better one that had a tiny little bit of damage in one wee crease in it, and the other one had a bit of damage in it. But the whole fender was a damn sight better than the other one, because the rest of the other one was like, you know, it was half an inch, you know, an 3/8 to half an inch thick all over the place, because it just been beaten so bad. You know, if you had time, you know, spent a lot of time on it, you would have straightened it out. But I had a better one, so I had to do a bit of panel beating on that front corner still. But sometimes you just got to use what you can get, because the parts aren't available. But anyway, I'll get this blown off shortly. And so I was just thinking, while this is still soft, I'll show you what I did. It'll be easy to, you know. Easy peasy. Alright, I'm just trying to block this stuff off. It's actually been almost a couple of hours since I put it on, or might be a bit more. But it's actually cooled off quite a bit today, unfortunately. And yeah, struggling. It's actually quite cool. Unfortunately, it's under the predictability of our weather here. Yeah, I don't know what the temperature is, but it's not cold, but it's not horrendously warm. But this panel's quite cool to touch. So unfortunately, this is struggling to go off, if you know what I mean. It is, but it's not. No, it's quite gummy still on the outside, on the top, if you know what I mean. I just used an old piece on the DA for start to try and knock that gumminess off, but anyway, I actually put up a little video on YouTube just before. The poor guy, reasonably local to me, what I mean reasonably local, like he's about an hour away, I think. What his name? What's his name? Was Graham Beard, I think his name is. In my Lawrence Rev Rock and Hop video last year that we did, which would be in a couple of weeks sort of thing. He's got this still got this beautiful 59 Plymouth, like suburban type wagon or whatever it is. Yeah, and unfortunately it blew a trans line and it's been burnt quite badly. He needs quite a lot of stuff to repair it, and he's possibly even looking for a roof section, or it could be repaired. It just depends on, I suppose, how bad that metal was burnt. How much strength and structure's gone out of it, or maybe another body or something like that, and use all the rest of his stuff. It's a real shame. Beautiful, beautiful car. But yeah, I don't know if anybody knows of anything, probably anywhere in the world really, or maybe has a tie back to somewhere here in New Zealand, knows somebody here in New Zealand that might know of something somewhere. I wouldn't imagine it's probably a terribly common vehicle, but yeah, be a shame to see it not being repaired because you can't get parts for it. But yeah, that sucks, because I don't know how old the rebuild was on it. I'm not 100% sure on that, but reasonably recent years, if you know what I mean. I'll imagine probably in the last 20 sort of type thing. Beautiful car though, but sucks to blow a trans line and freaking set the thing on fire. But yeah. Anyway, I'll carry on with this a bit, see if I can get this to. Actually, what I might do is I might pull it off here and just sit aside for a bit, and maybe mix some filler up and put it on that rear fender and put a bit more hardener this time. Go a little bit overboard with the hardener and see if I can get that to go off and at least get something else, and just give us a bit more time to not quite so gummy on top, so I'm not filling up the paper like this. Like I've even tried to blow it out, and it's stuck and it's a pain in the ass. I hate when paper does that. And that's just the nature of the beast, unfortunately. It's been quite nice, but these last few days have been cooler, so it hasn't helped me then. That's why I put this on about 11 o'clock and it's now 1, so it's been on here at least 2 hours. Yeah, it's still not really gone off. You know what I mean? But anyway, I'll try to sand it, but it's just a pain in the ass, it's just clogging paper up. So I'll rip this off and I'll mix up some filler, and I'll at least put it on this rear fender and see if I can work out some way to hold it down, the same sort of method, but it's not quite so easy with this, but I'll work something out. But anyway, I'll come back to you shortly. Well, yes, this one here's still been a pain. I'll just leave it till tomorrow. Hopefully, looks like we might be getting a bit of sun, so we might get a little bit of temp. Maybe the later part of the day, and that might just help it make it go off properly, you know, and not be. Every time I try to sand with it, it just fills the bloody paper up. It's a pain in the ass. But they seem to be okay. So yeah, I think the problem is just with the temperature fluctuation. I didn't have a hard enough hardener in it, and yeah, it's gone off, but it hasn't gone hard. It's a bit of a pain. It's hard enough, but it's just that top section. You know, you get I don't know. Probably can't see that. You're still getting a little bit. I can get a little bit of. Keeps falling away, but yeah, I can get a little bit of shit underneath my nail from it and scraping across the top. Now that is hard, you know, you're just getting a bit of dust, but I can actually build a decent bit up underneath my fingernail. I don't know if you can see that or not, but yeah, so it's just every time you try to sand it, it just falls paper up shit. So I'll just leave it for another till tomorrow. Might just unscrew it out of the bloody road in the meantime. This here is pretty good. I've done a wee bit more sanding. I'll have to mix up a bit more. You know, there's still a few lumpy bits I need to spread a bit more down here. Still a few high spots I might have to actually get a hammer and just knock a couple of little spots down before I do spread a little more filler down this edge. And a little, you know, a bit of, you just put a smear down in here, and then obviously in the back here it's been quite hammered. There's been a piece put in here. And around the front, maybe put a bit more in the bottom edge. The rest of it's pretty good, you know, just the odd low spot. I won't have to mix up too much. Like I will, but not too much. So I have to open up another can and mix some up. Yeah, and then I'll check the time, and anyway I might mix it and leave it and call it a day, just because I'm having issues with that one. Otherwise I'd stay and sand that bastard, but it just doesn't want to seem to go off. So I'd rather just leave it for another 12 hours or whatever and attack it in the morning, and hopefully it's gone off enough. I'll mix up a wee bit more body fluid than that now and take that off and have a bit of a clean up here. It'll be 4 o'clock anyway, so it's not too bad. You know, it's not as though I'm losing 2 hours or anything like that. You know, I'd like to stay here till 5, but yeah, I could possibly mix it up and hang around for half an hour, but it doesn't matter too much. I could clean out some other stuff, but it's all good. Yeah, it looks like they're mowing grass out here. Yeah, they've let the grass grow, and I presume I'm not sure if they'll be doing hay or silage, you know, wrap bales, or they'll be doing it actual like silage, and they spit it in the back of a truck and then pile it a big heap. I don't know. There'll be 2 or 3 cuts off this year, so hopefully when I go to spray that, they're not cutting this shit again another day, if you know what I mean. But that should be alright. Hopefully the next cut won't be until after Christmas. Anyway, they might get another quick one, but depends on the heat. But yeah, I'll mix up some more body fluid and yeah, I'll see if I might do an ending video for the day or not. I don't know, we'll see how it happens. Otherwise we'll see tomorrow. Right, so I put quite a bit extra around here. Try to spread it out where I think I need it. You know, it's one of those shapes that's awkward to try and get it to go both ways without trying to scrape it off. That's why I was looking for that little bloody black plastic spreader again, but I still haven't bloody found it. I've mudded this a little bit further back and a little bit wider, try and get back into here a wee bit more even. Mudded a little bit more over that edge. I just sort of filled the few marks and bits and pieces that were in here and just blended this a little bit further and brought this a little bit further down and just I just smeared it across it because there was a few little highs and lows and marks and bits and pieces. So it'll just give me something to sand off. So it is hopefully nice and flat this time. And again down here, because there was a few marks and bits and pieces, like a few highs and lumps and bumps that I just didn't quite get down to. I've mudded around here, hopefully enough, a little bit across here, and try to pull a little bit down there, and just, so this is just extra that I don't know, I was just trying to get a couple of little marks, but it doesn't really matter. This isn't sort of seen too much from sort of about, well, from here down anyway, because that's bolted onto that rear valance piece, and then that's up underneath the body, and you know, this is all hidden anyway, so hopefully that's enough on there. The rest of it we should get hopefully with glazing, putty, and high build. I don't think there's anything else major. Yeah, little pittings and bits and pieces we should, you know, get with a few coats of high build. There's nothing excessive in the areas that we haven't put body filler on. But sometimes you've got to put the body filler on to get it down, you know. It is what it is. I've tried years ago just to sort of do the pieces you think that look damaged, and you know, and you always come along and you put more on and more on and more on, and next thing, you know, you're just trying to get it right, and you block it back hard, and you think, oh yeah, I've still got a low spot in there. So sometimes you're better off just to put a decent amount on for a start off, block it back, and then just come back and touch up where you need to, or come back and skim the whole thing again. You know, but it's just, it is what it is. Sometimes that's what you got to do. You know, if you know the panel's had a fair bit of damage, and you've got it roughed out pretty good, sometimes that's what you do. You just got to just coat the whole thing, block it back until you got a lot of bare metal showing. You know you're fairly close. Come back, hit the spots that are still a bit low. You know, knock them down, and then hopefully get the rest in high build and a little bit of glazing putty or something like that later on. I've learnt from there, you don't get it done properly, and you spend a lot of time chasing it. Sometimes you just better off just to, you not cake it in mud, but give it a fairly reasonable coating, you know, a good skim, and then block it out. And unless you know a particular part of the panel is not really damaged, then you can probably avoid that. But you know, when it's 100 years old and it's been pretty banged about, well, sometimes you just got to do the whole thing. It is the nature of the beast sometimes. But anyway, that'll do for today. Yeah, and hopefully that's gone off in the morning. I can knock the rest of the crap off that. Hopefully this is pretty good and I can get that sorted, and then we can punch into the last panel, and then I'll clean these up and do them, and then I'll sort the front valance to do. I'm not going to panic about these side pieces. I'm going to try and get them with high build and a bit of glazing putty, and that should be the worst of it done, and then I can actually hopefully get back into that, and then hopefully he's going to take the diff housing away and get that cleaned up on the inside and bits and pieces. So hopefully that'll happen in the next day or two, and that'll give me a chance to get some of this other stuff done, and hopefully the kingpins and that'll be ready to go sometime shortly. I haven't heard anything, but I haven't called back in there either to check. So if I can get them back together, at least I can get the front end on it, and then we can work on getting the back end on while we're carrying off other pieces, you know. It'll all come together eventually. Right, cheers. Righty, morning guys. Just lift it up a little bit. So obviously I've just finished, well, majority finished sanding the body fluid I put on that last night. I still haven't attacked that other one. I've got it actually sitting over in the sun on the door. I hope for the temperature a couple up a bit today, and I'll attack that one a little later on. I'll see if I can get some heat on that panel and make that body fluid go off properly so it's not clogging up the paper, you know, like that all the time. Now this paper here, this roll stuff, it's okay. I'd like to try something else just to see what it's like, but I've got a heap of that stuff now, so I'll keep using it in the meantime. You know, I've got plenty. I've got 2 rolls of 80 grit, 2 rolls of 240, 320 and 400 I think, so I got 2 rolls of each, plus I've got sandpaper, like sheet sandpaper as well, same, but in 3M. Now I've been using this piece of 3M around this roll, I wouldn't say a lot, but a bit. I did not long ago replace that paper this morning, I think. Is it the piece of paper? Doesn't matter anyway, but one of these pieces of paper. I don't know, this here is still very rough. This here is not quite so. It's okay, it holds its edge, but it's, I don't know, it seems to lose it way quicker than 3M stuff does. Like I don't know what 3M is worth for a roll of sticky back, like this sort of stuff. No, and I don't really know much about this brand, but I'll use it till we're finished with it. But I wouldn't mind getting hold of even just a couple of pieces or some samples of some 3M sticky back. The only other thing I've noticed with these blocks, and Arco can fill me in there. I've actually asked Arco how he gets on, but these lucky blocks, when you go to peel the sticky back paper off, you got to sit there and scrape all the backing of the paper off the block, which can be a bit of a pain. Same on the Durabox too. Like if I pull this off, it leaves all the backing of the paper. Now I don't know if it's this paper or whether it's just the nature of the beast, you know, and you've got to try and clean it off. But you're losing time sitting there for 10 minutes cleaning the crap off the block so you can put another piece of paper on there, which is not ideal. I don't know if it's just this paper or if it's just the nature of the beast of using sticky back paper on blocks. That would be, if any of you have used, you know, Durablocks or acrylic blocks, and you've used obviously different brands and you've pulled the paper off, and some do it and some don't. That would be nice to know, because that's one thing that I find, you know, you pull the paper off and for right now it's been 5 or 10, well, you know, 5 minutes scraping the shit off instead of just getting another piece of paper, cutting it off, slap it on and away you go again. Where if you're using, like, anyway, one of the blocks that you've got the clips on the block, wherever the block is, right here. If you're using this style of block, you know, it's got a clip on it. Now you wear your piece of paper out or whatever, you know, you come along and you just jam another sheet and then away you go. Or, you know, like this one here, the same thing, you know, pull your piece of paper off, lift your clips up, jam another piece of paper and away you go. Like it's a couple of minute, well, it's not even that, you know, if it's a minute change and away you go again. Like instead of spending time, wasting time cleaning, prepping your block again. I don't know if that's a normal sort of thing or, you know, I don't know. So that's something I'm learning. So if you know, if you're doing this sort of thing and, you know, you run into that sort of issue, let me know. Maybe that might have been the advantage of the hook and loop. but Arco said go with the sticky back stuff because the hook and loop doesn't always end up dead flat. It must be just the bumpiness of it, and obviously as it gets worn, you know, it obviously doesn't keep a total dead flat block, if you know what I mean, which I can understand. Like the hook and loops and these things, you know, they're not bad, but yeah, like they're not a dead flat surface when you're coming down to that final blocking out, which is understandable. So you don't want something that's leaving a line in your sanding as you're going each way, and then all of a sudden you end up with this, you know, microscopic crisscross in your paint, you know, or whatever. So anyway, I need to mix up a little bit more filler for this. I'll turn the camera around, hold on. So I need to mix up a little bit more filler, or I might just mix some glazing putty and put it in some of these places. Yeah, I'll probably just might even go glazing putty, I think, instead of mixing up a whole batch of filler. It's only a few imperfections. I've actually knocked some of these spots down. This here's not too bad. It's a little bit lumpy, but it's not too bad. I think I'll get that with high build. May not, but I've come along and I've just tapped this stuff down because it was quite proud. And I've tried to tap some of that stuff down. Yeah, and here really probably a little bit of glazing putty would do the most of it. It'll be just hopefully, you know, a little bit of glazing putty and a few coats of high build, and you might have to touch it up again. We should get that. It's one of those shitty spots. You've got to use a round block to try and get in here, and then you got to get so far up, and then you got to transfer it back to the block that you can pull around here to try and sand that out. This might need a wee bit of mud down here, but I should be able to get it with glazing putty, I think. So yeah, I'll get that sorted, get that mixed up. Make sure I get the frickin' hardener ratio right. I seem to be struggling with that these days because at the moment it's not hot here. It's quite cool. Now we're still getting down low. I wouldn't say we're getting to freezing, but we're getting down, you know, sort of a few degrees above freezing at nights. It's still cool. Like, you know, in another month or another few weeks, you know, we won't, unless we happen to get a few cool days, and then it'll drop down again. It's just the nature of the beast here because we're so far south. You know, we can get big changes in temperature. You know, if we get a crappy patch comes through for a few days, you know, we'll get really cool nights. But if it gets hot, well, then all of a sudden it's, you know, up in those late teens, 20s at night. You know, in the middle of the night, you'd be trying to do work and you'd just be sweat would be pouring off you. But then you might get it a week later, and you're looking for a long sleeve top, if you know what I mean, to try and keep it a wee bit warm, or you might put you might leave your cap on or your beanie on sort of top thing. But that's just one of those, it's just the nature of the beast around here. So it affects the way the body filler goes off. So yeah, it's very susceptible. I find this stuff is very susceptible to, you've either got too much hardener in it, or you haven't got quite enough, depending on the temperature. And I've found, as with that other panel, I thought I probably had enough hardener, but because it's been a bit cooler a couple of days ago, it's taken a bit for that stuff to go off. But hopefully, with it sitting in the sun and getting a bit of heat into the panel, it might solve that problem. At least I better sand it without gumming up the paper all the frickin' time. It's annoying. As you can see, like it's not clearing. So that's a bit of a pain. And I don't know if that's just that paper either, like the 3M was doing it a little bit. That rollers, you know, like there's a bit of shit stuck in that too. So it probably is just the body filler. But anyway, we'll carry on. Righty, so I've got some glazing putty on here. I sort of smeared a bit on the body filler down around there just because it didn't really warrant me mixing a whole heap of body filler, but you know, a little bit of glazing putty goes a long way. I've just done this edge mainly because I know it's not seen, but it's just to feather this in properly, you know, at least when you paint it, you haven't got any funny marks. You know, it's going to be painted nicely, even though it's not going to be sort of seen. You know, there's going to be welting and all that sort of stuff in between this and the body and whatever, but at least it hasn't got any, it shouldn't have any pits and marks and whatever to hold water or anything stupid. And I've just done the worst of the little bits and pieces it needed. Another little skim, you know, filled some marks where I knocked some metal back and whatever, just to get rid of any other little imperfections in there. So I'll let that go off for a bit. Hopefully that shouldn't take too long to go off, because it's cooled down. The bloody winds come from the east and it's pushing the clouds in. Apparently they're meant to be getting this grass in today, so hopefully the weather holds for them. They'll be picking it up with and shooting it into trucks, and it'll be going away in a big heap and getting covered up. I'm glad I don't do that anymore. I used to. It's not so bad driving around the trucks, but it's covering the frickin' shit at the end of it. But anyway, so I'll have another play of this, see if this is gone off anymore, and that'll sand frickin' any half decent. I haven't tried it since yesterday, so just see if it's gone off enough that it'll actually won't gum up the paper any frickin' more. I could always poke it there in the sun again for a wee bit longer if I have to. But yeah, anyway, I'll carry on. Get that stuff sorted. Hopefully one of these days we'll get this stuff moved. Probably might see a partner down here a bit more often. Hopefully she might actually give me a little bit of a help and just even maybe do some filming or something like that. Because she's finished the carving stuff now. She's last day today. She's doing that, so she probably won't be down here all the time. But I'm hoping that she might just come down here and give me a hand and whatever. And might even keep myself a wee bit more cleaned up and organised. Yeah, that's a work in progress. You know, as we get this a bit more sorted and get ourselves sorted out, and get a few of these more things sort of organised a bit better, and hopefully we'll be able to keep on top of the clutter and the mess, if you know what I mean. You know, once we sort of get this out of the road, we can shift a few tools around and whatever, and get ourselves a wee bit more organised, I guess. But yeah, we'll get there. Righty, so I've got that sanded up back anyway. I think I'm going to leave that one for now and wait for high build. I'm still waiting on this to finish going off. The temperature's really frickin' screwing with us. I just converted my temperature on my phone to Fahrenheit. It's 54. So it's not terribly hot. It's about 11 degrees, 12 degrees C. So it's not cold, but it's not, you know, like 20 degrees or a little bit better is quite nice, because stuff goes off reasonably well without going off super fast. You know, when you're getting into the mid-20s, it starts going off too fast, but about that sort of 21, 22 degrees, stuff goes off in a good time frame, and you're not chasing your like your hardening ratio too much. You know, like you don't, if you put, you know, you're not trying to put less in so it doesn't go off so quick, or you're not trying to put extra in so it goes off, but then it will go off too quick too. You know, so it's in that sort of funny range where it's not cold, but it's not hot either, and you know, just, you know, if you don't quite get the ratio right, it can take a while to get it to go off. So I'm probably going to have to wait for that, you know, for, it's not quite 12 o'clock, it's about 20 to 12 or something like that. But really, I thought it would have been quite warm, but now we've got a cold easterly, sort of southeasterly coming in, so it's a pain in the arse. It's keep that temperature down. If the wind dies down, the temperature will come up, but yeah, it's not real hot at the moment. And God, I'm getting so pissed off with this. There was a whole heap of car shows coming up this month, because we just basically broke into November, as you guys know. Yeah, and there was like in the next couple of 3 weeks, there was some really good ones. Like there was Rev Rock and Hop, motoring mad. Like some of the ones that were quite good to go to last year, like last month, there was the Riveting Car Show, which was normally really quite a one. Last year's one was a bit funny. It was sort of an unorganised sort of event, but it's normally in one of the football grounds, rugby grounds, and there's like all sorts of things going on. But we've missed that again too. So yeah, it looks like we're going to miss the Rev Rock and Hop. Hopefully they don't cancel the Cromwell Car Show. That's that big one that we went to last year, and the young fella got heat stroke. Like there's normally 1,000 cars sort of type thing. Hopefully they don't cancel that one. We get to go to that. There's a couple after Christmas as well, but who knows what's going to happen at the moment, because we're getting this freaking stupid Delta everywhere. We're getting cases in the hundreds. Like we're only 5 million people here in New Zealand. We haven't had it here in the South Island until just the last week or two, and we're getting a couple of numbers, and you can guarantee that's going to explode, and we're still on what they call level 2. If it was in level 1, we were about to do most things. They'd let the car shows run again, all that sort of stuff, but we're restricted to 100 people within a close area. But the stupid thing is, there was a couple of car shows and things. It's like some events happened. Like they even had some car racing out at the local Teratronga, which is our local Tarshill circuit track, last weekend. Like obviously there wasn't a lot of people there, but I don't know, they're spread out over a very big area. But when you go into an open air car show, and it's in big fields or paddocks or whatever you want to call it, like sure there is going to be some people in close proximity, but who cares? Like if we all had to wear a mask, what does it matter? If everybody's wearing a mask except for when you're maybe going to have something to eat, I'd still rather go like that than just shut it down. Like it's just, like we can't have any freaking fun. That's what people need, because we've sort of been, the last wee while we've been sort of been locked up, but haven't been able to go to do many things. You can't go to the, like if you wanted, you can't probably go to the movies. I don't know if you can go to the swimming pools, anything like that, now that it's starting to get warm, it's just a pain, and like there's lots of these things that you would normally take kids and do, or you do as adults to have a bit of fun. They go to these car shows or whatever, and they go watch, there's a couple of them, they've got burnout competitions and stuff, starting to get into that sort of stuff, which is really cool, in a controlled environment. People can have fun, do whatever, just a good day out, look at some cool cars, talk to some people you might have seen for a while, and it's just bloody annoying. Like as I said, my little short that I put up, like COVID's here to stay. Like I don't think there's frig all we can do about it around the world. We can all go get vaccinated and all that, whatever. But, like you can still get COVID if you're vaccinated. So at the end of the day, they want us in New Zealand to be 90, I think it's 95 or 90% vaccinated around the world before they're going to let us do anything. Well, for those that don't want to be vaccinated, that should be, their choice, our choice, whatever. But, if we get COVID and we die, we die. We're just as likely to die walking out the street and going for a walk. Driving a car, whatever. You could drive down the street tomorrow and somebody could drive out, on a side road and T-bone you and you're dead. Or whatever, or it's, or you're like, you could go for a walk in the bush and fall off a cliff or anything stupid like that, like you're just as likely to die from that as you are from COVID. And if everybody else is vaccinated, and supposedly they aren't going to die, well, what does it matter? You know, like, just let people be what we're going to do. If you don't get vaccinated, you know, and you get it and you die, well, that's your tough luck. But, you know, if everybody else is vaccinated, you know, what's the problem? You know, just let people get out, let us do what we're going to do and get on with life. It's, at this point, you know, we're 2 years into this bullshit, coming into a third one, you know. You know, there's a fair chunk of the world is vaccinated. You know, just let us get on with life. The countries and the people and the whatever that have either chosen not to get vaccinated or they're in poor countries that haven't been vaccinated yet, well, it is what it is, you know. Just let us get on with life. Just another wee spiel too. Like they say, this vaccine is safe for everybody to get, but I know of a couple of 3 people that have had it, gone through their jabs. Sister-in-law's one in Australia. She got really frigging crook. Like the vaccine fucking near killed a little one, the COVID. So, you know, like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. It's everybody's, I think it should be everybody's choice whether you get it or not. If you don't, you know, and you die, you're going to die. Probably if you got the COVID, if you get the vaccine and you're going to have a bad reaction to it, like my sister-in-law did. Well, you know, if you're going to die, you're going to die. You know, it's one of those things. You either you do or you don't, and you get on with life, and you take your chance. You know, we're all here. We'll all take a chance. Take a fucking chance every time we get in the car. Take a chance every time somebody goes out in the bush and goes hunting or whatever. You know, you take a chance every time you walk out in the rain and fucking thunderstorm. You know. Yeah, it's just, yeah, I don't know, it's beyond a joke. It's gone too far, it's too much control. You know, what are we all under the government of Hitler and the Nazis now or something, you know, like that's how they controlled people. It's too much. You know, for a start off, you know, if they were going to do it properly, you should have done it right at the fucking start, not now.